MagicCon Vegas this year was a huge success for multiple reasons, especially if one of those reasons was you wanted to buy $40 booster packs, walk 10 feet from where you bought them, and then sell them immediately for $80 cash, no questions asked. That's something you could do at this con. The Final Fantasy set has brought unprecedented hype and attention onto Magic the Gathering, and it has attracted the one thing that no one wants in their hobby, and that is the dreaded scalper. Joel R. Magic is brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your cards quickly and easily on the internet. TCG Player, the best place to buy them. Dragon Shield, the best way to protect them. And Moxfield, the best way to put your deck lists on the internet. So there was a long Reddit post about bribery and about scalping and how the entirety of MagicCon Vegas was overshadowed by the lack of availability, the length of multiple lines, and the absolute permeation of scalpers buying up everything and people skirting the rules as best they can. Now, the vibe was very different on the actual convention floor than was presented in that Reddit post. The writer of that Reddit post obviously had a very negative experience, and I can understand that. We're going to talk through some of the reasons that I think that happened. But I don't think that it was as negative overall as a convention as that post made it out to seem. The vibes were very high the entire weekend. People were very excited about Final Fantasy. The fact that the prices were just rising was more of a conversation and just a head shaker than anything. It was something fun to talk about, kind of. Chasing those packs and figuring out how to get them from the store was definitely an enormous storyline, and Black Lotus badges definitely had an advantage over the rest of the field. Now, the thing with the Black Lotus badge that it gives it an advantage over the rest of the field is that you gain early access to basically everything throughout the weekend, with the primary two contributors of early access problems, so to speak, being the main show store, the official conference Wizards of the Coast show store, and early access to the convention floor so that you're able to go stand in line at booths where exclusives might be sold, such as Ultra Pro. There were three main items that were contributing to the fervor this past weekend that scalpers were targeting, that players were trying to target as cheaply as possible, and that was the Final Fantasy collector booster packs at the main show store, the festivals in a box at the main show store that contain Mystery Booster 2, and the Cloud and Sephiroth playmats that are exclusives that were sold at the Ultra Pro booth on the convention floor. They had the shiny sword that Cloud had and the shiny sword that Sephiroth had, the Buster Sword and the Masamune. Look at me learning some Final Fantasy stuff. Hey! Those were shiny on those playmats, and those were selling for double, triple, quadruple. They sold for quite a bit on the secondary market if you couldn't get them there on the show floor. So let's talk about the collector packs first. You could, with the Black Lotus badge, stand in line, go up and buy the pack for $40, which is what they were selling them for. And there were vendors throughout the entire weekend that were offering sight unseen $70, $80 cash per pack for players to just sell them straight to the booth. Now, there was a transactional limit of 3 booster packs on those collector boosters. That might not have been enforced the first day. I've heard conflicting reports, but that's pretty standard. Reed Pop, Wizards of the Coast, whoever does the hiring for their official show store, a lot of times those are local day players that are doing that, and the rules of all of the engagement and who can purchase what and when and how much, that is not really locked in as tightly as it can be, and that's pretty standard for the first day of these conventions. I saw it at Chicago this year, saw it at Vegas last year, and so on and so forth with prior conventions. The first day, especially that first night, that Thursday night when stuff goes live and Black Lotus has the ability to go in and purchase early, that night in particular tends to be more of a free-for-all where the rules get set past that for the rest of the weekend. So for the majority of the time, 3 packs per transaction was the limit. Now, that was not limited on any sort of day basis. You weren't scanned every time you go through, and mostly the workers there didn't care. They're not the pack police. They're just trying to sell stuff to people who want to buy it. And so it was quite easy with the Black Lotus badge, from what I hear, to just go back through the line, buy your 3 packs. Go back through the line, buy your 3 packs. I think a good solution here would be still enforce a limit at an individual level, but let's not make it transactional. Let's just say, all right, you get 3 a day, and if you want to, you can go and buy all 9 or all 12, depending on if you're Black Lotus and you also get access on that Thursday. You can go and buy all 12 just at once, at cost, and that's done. Because the thing is Wizards of the Coast has to sell them for MSRP. It would create a very strange situation, I feel like, if Wizards announced what MSRP was on their website, which they did per pack. They didn't announce it per box, but they announced it per collector pack, what the MSRP was for the Final Fantasy set. If they had sold it at any more than that, I think there would have been even more of an outcry, and it's probably illegal. I'm no lawyer, but you've got to have your MSRP, and if you, the store, are selling over that, that probably creates some strange conflict. So it was sort of understood that those packs were going to be sold at that $40 mark. What was unforeseen was the hype and the fervor that was drummed up over the weekend, and how prices on singles and sealed product just continued to shoot through the roof. There was stuff that was up 100% from when I got there on Thursday to when I left on Monday morning. Absolutely insane. You also had festivals in a box. Now those contain Mystery Booster 2, and buying them through Festival in a Box is the most direct way to obtain that product for individuals or for stores. You'll have a chance to buy them on the Secret Lair website for a limited time, but the best way to get them is at the convention, especially when you start talking about, oh, I can just pay the $200 and not have to worry about shipping or fees or taxes or anything like that. And if you've got the Black Lotus, you're getting a 10% discount on all products, so that's relevant toward the overall cost as well. Now, those festivals in a box selling for $200 were being straight up purchased for $250 cash by vendors like right outside the line. That's what was going on all weekend, is that the vendors, because they're not able to unless they skirt the system, which they don't want to do so that they don't lose their, status with Wizards, they're not able to go right up to the show store and buy stuff from them directly. That's not allowed. But they can offer a little bit more and incentivize people to just continuously go through the line and buy these things and sell them to the vendor. And if that's how they want to take their $900 Black Lotus badge and spend it standing in line all weekend to, make some money, rock and roll. That's how you wanted to spend your convention, go ahead. And that's what I mostly saw, is that the people that were really grinding this line, that's all you did. You were a professional shopper all weekend. And so rock and roll. If they've set up the system and you want to do that with your entire time there and not get any games in or see any of the events on stage or go to any of the meet and greets, just do anything that has to do with Magic. You just want to flip and sell and buy and sell. And if that's what you want to do, more power to you. And the system was kind of set up that way. I mean, WotC started a gold rush, handed out shovels. It was only a matter of time before people started digging. I saw one commenter on the Reddit post saying that WotC already won because we're all discussing this. And yeah, that is a big point that I want to make, is like, there's no incentive for this system to change. If you want to participate in it, you need to learn the system and go participate in it. Get your Black Lotus badge, learn whatever the rhythm of that con is going to be for selling and buying, because these things change all the time. There's tweaks here and there, but at the end of the day, WotC and Repop are selling through all of their product, which they're a store. That's their entire and only goal. And we're all talking about it after the fact. There's a ton of buzz. You know that no press is bad press is no press. Whatever that saying is, all press is good press, I think is what it's supposed to mean. The thing is that is just going to create more hype for the Black Lotus badges for Atlanta. We're just going to see the fervor continue and build from us even discussing this. And so the fact that they sold through all their product and customers are discussing their product after the fact, I feel like they are getting everything they want, and so there's just no incentive on their side to change anything. I don't think that makes them bad or evil either. They're just trying to sell a product. They can't jack up their own prices, and the convention is set up the way it is. Any system that exists is going to have gamers, and I'm speaking from personal experience. I've run leagues through the Discord, through the Patreon. We've run different events and stuff, and whenever you write down rules, you've seen this happen. I promise you can think about Ricky trying to game the rules and find the loopholes right now. We all know a Ricky. That's going to happen. Anytime there's rules, anytime there's a system, people are going to figure out how to game it, especially when there's money involved, especially when it's as easy as buying a $40 pack walking 20 feet and selling it for 80 bucks. Done. The other big issue for a lot of people was the Cloud and Sephiroth playmats that were shiny. There is a shiny exclusive playmat at pretty much every convention now. Last convention, it was the lightning bolt that had the shiny red lightning all over it, and that was the one that everybody was wanting to buy and flip. That's just going to be how it is now. There's going to be con exclusives, and those con exclusives are going to be harder to get. I personally knew non-Black Lotus badge holders who easily got them, who went in the morning. You're gonna have to do that. You can't just wait until the last hour of the last day to get the exclusives. That's not how this works. They went there in the morning on the first day and on the second day and were able to walk right into line and get what they wanted and leave. They didn't have a Black Lotus badge. They did have to wait in a long line, but if you're pursuing an exclusive, you can anticipate that that's going to be the case. These things are going to attract scalpers. These things are going to attract fans that actually want the merchandise, and you need to be prepared for that if you want to obtain these things. And then the biggest topper of all of this is that the Final Fantasy IP has just really exposed that these loopholes really exist for higher level scalpers. There have been scalpers. I was joking in the opening about we finally got scalpers in the game. There have been scalpers. Scalpers exist throughout Magic's history, and all I think that the Final Fantasy IP did was open that up even more. Show scalpers that, hey, here's an opportunity over here for you to buy and resell. And because of the way the system is set up, that's just not de-incentivized. There's no company that's like, we got to figure out how to get around these scalpers. They just sell the stuff, and when it's sold out, it's sold out. The closest I've seen is like LGS's selling booster boxes for the MSRP price, as long as you'll let them like cut and take off the plastic right there in the store. So you're guaranteeing to them that you're not just going to go resell it. But if you want to buy the sealed products still in the wrapping, you got to pay a higher price that's closer to market price. That's kind of the closest thing I've seen. And that's at the store level. That's not at the company level. I've seen people suggest badge scanning. I really like the idea of you buy it for the whole weekend. That's your allocation. You can just buy it all at once instead of standing in line multiple times. Hole punch systems I've seen. There's been a lot of suggestions as to how this could be fixed, but anytime I start thinking about it and anytime I see an idea I like, eventually that idea goes to, well, that probably costs way too much extra money and extra time on top of everything to make this happen. There's a reason they're hiring the day players locally, and that's not every employee. There's going to be Wizards employees, there's going to be standard people that have been there forever that know how the system works and are doing the best that they can, but largely those roles I would assume are going to be filled with day players locally because they're going to be hired by the convention, not like shipped in from Renton, Washington specifically to work at the store there. So yes, the situation that this Reddit post exposed did exist, but it didn't contribute to a negative feeling overall for the entire convention, as it were. Vibes were really high. Final Fantasy hype was super high. I've seen other conventions that were like this as well, and yeah, it sucks to miss out on something that you really wanted that was a con exclusive, or it sucks to just be like, okay, I guess I'm paying double on the secondary market what I could have gotten it for. But I think if you're going to go to a MagicCon, you have to decide in advance for yourself. Am I here to chase con exclusives? Am I going to spend the majority of my time doing that? Or am I going to spend the majority of my time playing and engaging in some of the free stuff that the convention has, meet and greets, all the stage stuff, all the free play areas, some of the ticketed events even? Am I going to do that? Or am I going to chase con exclusives? Because doing both will really fill up your weekend very quickly. This discussion's pretty nuanced and complicated, so I'd love to hear your take down in the comments below. If you like the coverage, hitting that like and subscribe button lets me know to talk about stuff like this more, and I'll catch you in the next one.